The door that closed. The taxi pulled up to the curb at 4:17 p.m., and I remember that detail because I checked my phone, thinking I'd text Daniel that I was home. 3 days away, just 3 days visiting my college roommate in Portland, and I was eager to tell him about the vintage bookstore I'd found. The one that smelled like his childhood, like the afternoons we spent reading together when he was small. The driver popped the trunk. I paid, tipped, gathered my small rolling suitcase. The autumn air was crisp, carrying the scent of wood smoke from someone's fireplace. Our street, looked exactly as it had when I left. The maple tree in front still held half its leaves, golden and stubborn against the October wind. Then I saw them. Boxes. 4 cardboard boxes stacked beside the front door. My door. Our door. The door I'd painted sage green 2 summers ago while Daniel complained about the fumes, and then surprised me with iced coffee from the corner shop. I moved closer. My legs knew something my mind refused to accept. The boxes contained my things. I could see the corner of my blue quilt, the one my mother had sewn, the spine of my favorite cookbook, a framed photo of Daniel at 8, gap-toothed and laughing, holding the fish he'd caught on our only real vacation. My hands were shaking when I found the note. White paper, folded once, tucked under a box flap. His handwriting, still a little messy, still a little rushed the way it had been since he learned to write. Sorry, Mom. There's no room for you anymore. 10 words. 27 years reduced to 10 words. I stood there holding that note, and the strangest thing happened. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't pound on the door that used to be mine. Instead, I felt something cold and clear settle into my chest, like water turning to ice, and I knew that the woman who had left 3 days ago was gone, and someone else stood in her place, someone who understood that love, when it becomes begging, stops being love at all. The memory came without permission. Daniel, at 4 years old, burning with fever in the emergency room at 2 a.m. His father had been gone 6 months by then, disappeared into whatever life he'd decided was more important than ours. I'd held Daniel's small, hot body against my chest while the nurse searched for a vein, and he'd whispered, "Don't leave me, Mama. Promise you won't leave." "Never," I'd said. "I promise. Never." Promises are such fragile things. I called my friend Sarah. She answered on the second ring. "Hey, how was Portland? Can I stay with you tonight?" My voice sounded strange, like it was coming from underwater. There was a pause. Sarah had known me for 15 years. She could read silence. "I'm coming to get you. Where are you?" "Home. Well, outside it." 20 minutes. I sat on the curb next to my boxes and waited. A neighbor walked by, Mrs. Chen, from 2 houses down. She slowed, looked at me, looked at the boxes, then hurried past with her eyes down. She knew. Of course she knew. In a neighborhood like this, everyone knew everything. I wondered how long they'd all known that I was living on borrowed time in my own life. The front curtain moved, just slightly. I saw him there, a shadow behind the fabric. Daniel, 27 years old, tall now, bearded, nothing like the little boy who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms. He was watching me sit among the ruins of our life together, and he didn't come out. I lifted my hand and waved. Not a desperate wave, not a pleading wave, just a small gesture that said, "I see you. I know you're there." The curtain dropped back into place. Sarah loaded the boxes into her SUV without asking questions. She was good that way. She knew the difference between needing to talk and needing to be silent. We drove to her house in the suburbs where her husband Michael took one look at my face and immediately offered to go talk some sense into that boy. "No," I said. It was the first word I'd spoken since Sarah arrived. "No talking, no sense. It's done." But it's done. I said it with such finality that Michael actually stepped back. Sarah took my arm and led me to their guest room, the one with the yellow walls and the view of the garden. She'd prepared it like she knew I'd need it, though she couldn't have known. Fresh sheets, flowers on the nightstand, a bottle of water. Stay as long as you need, forever if it comes to that. It won't come to that. How do you know? Because I'm not disappearing. I'm not shrinking. I'm not going to let him erase me. I set my suitcase down carefully, precisely. He can take the house, but he doesn't get to take who I am. Sarah hugged me then, hard and long, and I let her. But I still didn't cry. That night, alone in the yellow room, I let myself remember. Not the good parts. Those were too dangerous, too likely to crack the ice in my chest. Instead, I cataloged the truth. The slow, steady truth I'd been ignoring for years. Daniel, at 19, coming home from his first semester of college with opinions that sounded like someone else's. Someone named Vanessa, I'd eventually learned, his girlfriend. She was studying psychology and had theories about family dynamics and enmeshment and boundaries. "You're too involved in my life, Mom," he'd said one Thanksgiving, pushing away the sweet potatoes I'd made the way he loved. "It's not healthy." I'd tried to understand. I'd read articles about helicopter parenting. I'd given him space. Daniel, at 22, after graduation, moving back home just temporarily while he looked for work. I'd been glad, stupidly, desperately glad. But Vanessa was there too. Not living with us, but present in every conversation, every decision. She thought I was codependent. She thought I needed therapy. She thought a lot of things about me. This woman who'd never raised a child, never been alone, never understood what it meant to be someone's entire world. "Maybe she has a point," Daniel had said when I questioned her assessment of me. Me, the woman who'd worked 2 jobs to pay for his braces, his college application fees, his textbooks. "Maybe you do need to build your own life." As if I hadn't had a life. As if everything I'd done, every sacrifice, every choice had been some kind of sad, clingy pathology instead of love. Daniel, at 25, announcing he and Vanessa were engaged. I'd smiled. I'd congratulated them. I'd offered to help with the wedding. "Actually," Vanessa had said, her hand possessive on his arm, "we're thinking small, just immediate family, you understand." I'd been immediate family for 25 years. Past tense, apparently. They'd married at a courthouse. I'd found out from Facebook. And now, at 27, he'd left me a note. Not a conversation, not an explanation. A note. As if I were a problem to be solved rather than a person to be loved. I lay in Sarah's guest bed and finally understood. I had raised a stranger. Somewhere between the child who needed me and the man who discarded me, Daniel had become someone I didn't recognize. Someone who could lock his mother out with 10 words and hide behind a curtain while she waved goodbye. The ice in my chest grew thicker. In the morning, Sarah made coffee. She set a cup in front of me and said, "What do you need?" "A lawyer." She didn't look surprised. "I know someone. She's good. She'll tell you your rights." "I don't want to fight him for the house." "Then what?" "I want to understand what I'm giving up. I want to sign it away cleanly, legally, finally. I want paperwork that says I chose to leave." I sipped the coffee. It was perfect. Cream, no sugar, the way I'd drunk it for 30 years. Sarah remembered. I won't let him tell a story where I was pushed out like garbage. I walked away. There's a difference. "Is there?" Sarah asked gently. "Yes, because one is about him and one is about me." The house had been in my name, solely mine. I'd bought it 12 years ago, after years of saving, after years of renting apartments that smelled like other people's cooking. It was a small 2-bedroom craftsman with original hardwood floors and a backyard barely big enough for a tomato garden, but it was mine. I'd painted every room. I'd fixed the porch railing. I'd planted the rose bush by the mailbox. When Daniel graduated and needed a place to stay, I'd welcomed him home. When he couldn't afford rent anywhere else, I told him not to worry. When he'd said Vanessa would be moving in too, I'd hesitated only a moment before agreeing. I'd never asked him for rent. Not once. I'd never demanded he contribute to utilities. I'd never made him feel like a burden, though perhaps that was my mistake. Perhaps children who never learn the weight of burden never learn gratitude either. The lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia who wore red lipstick like armor, reviewed the documents and looked at me over her reading glasses. "This house is worth approximately $385,000, she said. "You own it outright, no mortgage. You could force him to leave. You could evict him. You could—" "I don't want to do any of that." "Then what do you want?" "I want to sign it over to him. I want a legal document that says I relinquish all claim to the property. I want it dated today so there's no question about when I made this choice." Patricia set down her pen. "Mrs. Morrison. Miss Morrison. I never married. Miss Morrison. With respect, this seems like a decision made under emotional duress. You should take time to— I've had 27 years. I don't need more time." I met her gaze steadily. "He wants me gone. Fine, I'm gone. But I won't sneak away. I won't let him think he drove me out. I'm choosing to go. I need that on paper. I need a record of my choice." She studied me for a long moment. Then she nodded. "All right, I'll draw up the paperwork. But I'm also going to include a clause that says you're signing under no coercion or undue influence, and that you've been advised of your legal rights. I want it crystal clear that this was your decision. Thank you." "Don't thank me. I think you're making a mistake, but I'll help you make it cleanly." I signed the papers 3 days later. Patricia had them delivered to the house by courier, along with a letter I'd written. Not a long letter, nothing dramatic. Just this: "Daniel, the house is yours. I've signed over the deed. You'll find the paperwork attached. I want you to know this was my choice. You asked me to leave, and I've decided to give you what you want, completely and permanently. I won't fight you. I won't beg. I won't try to make you feel guilty. But I also won't pretend that what you did was acceptable. You don't lock out someone who loves you. You don't discard them with a note. If you wanted me gone, you could have spoken to me like an adult. You could have given me the basic respect of a conversation. You didn't. And that tells me everything I need to know about who you've become. I hope the house makes you happy. I hope you fill it with better memories than the ones we made. I hope you and Vanessa build a wonderful life there. I won't be part of that life. Not because you locked me out, but because I'm choosing not to wait on your doorstep, hoping for scraps of affection from someone who sees me as a burden. I raised you to be kind. I failed. Goodbye. Mom." I didn't keep a copy. I didn't need one. Every word was burned into my memory. Sarah and Michael insisted I stay with them while I figured things out, but I couldn't. I loved them, but I needed to be alone, truly alone, not alone in someone else's guest room with their kindness pressing on me like a weight I couldn't carry. I found a studio apartment on the other side of the city, 600 square feet with a kitchenette and a bathroom the size of a closet. The walls were white, the carpet was beige, and it smelled like fresh paint and possibility. It was nothing like the house I'd given up. It was perfect. I moved in with my 4 boxes and nothing else. No furniture, no dishes, no decorations. I slept on an air mattress I bought at Target and ate takeout sitting on the floor with my back against the wall. Every evening I watched the sun set through the single window, and every morning I woke up and thought, I'm still here. He's gone, but I'm still here. It was enough. It had to be enough. I'd worked as a medical transcriptionist for 18 years, a job I could do remotely, a job that had allowed me to be home when Daniel got back from school, to attend his soccer games, to drive him to friends' houses. It was boring, meticulous work, but it paid decently and kept me available for the parenting I'd thought mattered. Now I had no one to be available for. I contacted my supervisor and asked about taking on more hours, harder projects, the work other transcriptionists avoided. She was surprised. I'd always been reliable, but never ambitious. Are you sure? She asked. Some of these files are 10, 12 hours of recordings, complex medical terminology. It's a lot. I'm sure. All right, but don't burn yourself out. Burn out, as if I weren't already ash. But I took the work. I threw myself into it. I spent 12, 14 hours a day with headphones on, typing words I barely understood, learning new medical subspecialties, earning money I didn't know what to do with. The numbers in my bank account grew. I didn't buy furniture. I didn't buy new clothes. I just worked and saved and existed in my white-walled studio, building something I couldn't name. 6 weeks after I signed over the house, Sarah called. He's asking about you. I was sitting on my air mattress, laptop balanced on my knees, halfway through transcribing a cardiothoracic surgery consultation. I hit pause. Who? Don't play dumb. Daniel. He called Michael yesterday. Wanted to know if we'd heard from you. What did Michael tell him? The truth, that you're fine, that you're working, that you have your own place. Good. That's it? Just good? What else should I say, Sarah? She sighed. He sounded, I don't know, off. Worried, maybe? Michael said he asked 3 times if you were okay. I am okay. Are you? I looked around my empty studio, air mattress, laptop, 4 boxes in the corner that I still hadn't unpacked because unpacking felt like admitting this was permanent and I wasn't ready to admit anything yet. I'm alive. I'm working. I have a place to live. That's more than some people. That's not the same as okay. It's all I've got. There was a long silence. Then Sarah said, he asked for your number. Something sharp twisted in my chest. Did you give it to him? No. Michael said you'd reach out when you were ready. I won't be ready. Ever? Ever. Jesus, Claire, he's your son. He was my son. Now he's a man who locked me out of his life. Those are different things. I unpaused the recording. A doctor's voice filled my ears, talking about arterial blockages and bypass procedures. I have to work. Claire. I love you, Sarah, but I have to work. I hung up before she could argue. The truth was, I thought about Daniel constantly. Every hour, every day. Every time I transcribed a word I didn't understand, I remembered teaching him to sound out words when he was 6, his little face scrunched in concentration. Every time I made coffee, I remembered the mornings we'd spent together in the kitchen before school, him complaining about geometry while I braided his hair when it was long and wild in middle school. Every time I saw a father with a son, I remembered being both parents, playing catch in the backyard because there was no one else to do it. I remembered everything, and it was killing me. But I didn't reach out. I didn't drive past the house. I didn't check his social media. I deleted my accounts the same day I signed over the deed. I didn't ask Sarah for updates. I chose silence because silence was the only dignity I had left. Winter came early that year. By mid-November, the city was locked and cold that felt personal, like the weather was conspiring to match my mood. I bought a space heater for the studio. I bought a real mattress and a cheap bed frame. I bought a single plate, a single bowl, a single fork. I was building a life designed for one, and some days that felt like freedom, and some days it felt like surrender. On Thanksgiving, Sarah invited me to her house. I declined. Michael called and tried to guilt me into coming. I declined again. You can't spend Thanksgiving alone, he said. Watch me. Claire, this isn't healthy. Neither was spending 27 years raising someone who'd throw me away. But I survived that. I'll survive this too. I spent Thanksgiving transcribing an emergency medicine case study and eating Chinese takeout straight from the container. At 8 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I stared at it for 5 rings, 6, 7. Then I turned it off. December arrived, and with it came clarity. I'd saved enough money to do something reckless, something I'd never allowed myself before. I started looking at online courses, photography, graphic design, web development, things I'd once been interested in, back before Daniel. back when I'd been a different person with different dreams. I enrolled in a web development boot camp that started in January. It was expensive, $8,000 for 12 weeks of intensive online learning, the kind of expense that used to terrify me, that would have meant choosing between Daniel's needs and mine. Now there was only me. The money was only mine. I paid the tuition without hesitation. Christmas Eve, Sarah showed up at my apartment unannounced. She had a small artificial tree, a box of ornaments, and a bottle of wine. "You're going to turn me away?" she asked, already pushing past me into the studio. "Good luck, I'm persistent." She set up the tree in the corner, plugged in the lights, hung ornaments while I watched from the bed. She didn't ask permission, she didn't wait for an invitation, she just did it. The way she'd been doing things for 15 years, showing up when I didn't know I needed someone. When she finished, she opened the wine and poured 2 glasses. "To new beginnings," she said, raising hers. I raised mine but didn't drink. What if I don't want a new beginning? What if I just want to exist quietly until I stop hurting? Then I'll sit here with you until you're ready. She sat on the floor, back against the bed, and we stayed like that for a long time. Silent, drinking wine, watching the colored lights blink on and off. Finally, Sarah said, "He came by my house. I didn't have to ask who. When? Last week. He looked..." She paused, searching for the word. "Lost. He kept saying he didn't understand, that he'd left you a note explaining everything, that he'd tried to do the right thing." "The right thing," I repeated. The words tasted bitter. He said, "Vanessa convinced him you were too dependent on him, that you needed to build your own life, that pushing you out was an act of love." I laughed. It was a harsh, ugly sound. Love. He thinks love looks like a note taped to a cardboard box. I know. He thinks love is kicking someone out so they'll learn independence. I know. He thinks he saved me. My voice was rising now, breaking. He thinks he was helping. Claire, I was never dependent on him. I was his mother. I was there because that's what mothers do. I was there because I loved him, not because I needed him to fill some void in my life. The words were pouring out now, hot and angry, the ice in my chest finally cracking. I had friends, I had hobbies, I had a job and interests and a whole life that wasn't him. But I also had him, and I made him a priority, because that's what you do for people you love. You show up. You make space. You choose them every day, even when it's hard. Sarah was crying. I realized I was too. And he took all of that, all of those years, all of that love, and he decided it was pathological. He decided I was broken. He decided the problem was me. So he fixed it. He threw me away, and he's probably sleeping fine at night, thinking he did me a favor. What did you tell him? When he came to your house, what did you say? Sarah looked at me steadily. I told him he'd broken his mother's heart and he'd better live with that. I told him you were fine, better than fine, but that he'd lost the right to know any details about your life. I told him not to come back. Michael wanted to punch him. Tell Michael I appreciate the sentiment. We finished the wine. Sarah stayed until midnight, until the colored lights felt less lonely, until I could look at the little tree and feel something other than rage. After she left, I sat on the floor in front of the tree and let myself cry. Really cry. The way I hadn't since I found the note. I cried for the little boy who'd needed me. I cried for the man who'd abandoned me. I cried for all the years I'd spent believing love was enough. That if I just tried hard enough, sacrificed deep enough, I could make him see my worth. But worth isn't something you can prove to someone who's decided you have none. I cried until I was empty. Then I went to bed and slept better than I had in months. The web development bootcamp started January 3rd. It was brutal. 8 hours of instruction every day, plus homework, plus projects, plus constant pressure to keep up with students half my age who'd grown up with technology in a way I hadn't. I loved it. For the first time in years, I was learning something for myself, not for Daniel's benefit, not to make his life easier, just for me, because I wanted to understand how websites worked, how code could create something from nothing. I was terrible at first. My projects looked like a toddler's art experiment. I got lost in syntax errors and spent hours debugging problems that were embarrassingly simple. But slowly, incrementally, I improved. By week 4, I'd built a functional website. Nothing fancy, just a portfolio site with a photo gallery and contact form. But it was mine. I'd made it. Line by line, error by error, until it worked. My instructor, a patient woman named Priya, who was probably Daniel's age, sent me a message after I submitted the project. "You're doing great. Some people quit by week 2. You're not just surviving, you're thriving." I printed that message and taped it to my wall. February brought unexpected warmth, the kind of false spring that makes you believe winter is over until it comes roaring back. I'd been in the studio for 4 months. I'd finished the boot camp. I had a certificate and a portfolio and a set of skills I hadn't possessed when Daniel locked me out. I also had job offers. 3 companies wanted to interview me for junior web developer positions. The pay wasn't spectacular, but it was more than I'd made transcribing, and it came with benefits, with potential for growth, with the possibility of a future that looked nothing like my past. I accepted a position at a small startup that made educational software. My first day was March 1st. I bought new clothes for it. Nothing fancy, just slacks and blouses that fit the person I was becoming. I cut my hair short, a choppy bob that felt bold and reckless. I bought glasses with thick frames because my eyes were tired from staring at screens, and the optometrist said they'd help. When I looked in the mirror, I saw someone I didn't recognize. It was the best feeling in the world. My phone rang in late March, Sarah's name on the screen. "He's getting married," she said without preamble. I was sitting at my desk at work, debugging a login form. I saved my work carefully before responding. "I know. He married Vanessa 2 years ago." "No, I mean, yes, but they're renewing their vows. Big ceremony this time. He sent Michael and me an invitation. Congratulations to them." "You don't want to know the details?" "No." "Claire, Sarah, I mean this with love. I don't care. He's living his life. I'm living mine. Those lives don't intersect anymore." "You're his mother." "I was his mother. Now I'm just Claire. And Claire has a deadline to meet." It wasn't entirely true. I had time, but I needed the conversation to end. "Tell him I said congratulations if you want, or don't. It doesn't matter." It should matter. But it doesn't. That's the thing you're not getting. I spent 27 years making him matter more than anything. He spent one afternoon deciding I didn't matter at all. I can't live in that imbalance anymore. It's not anger, it's just math. I hung up before she could respond. Later, alone in my studio, I thought about that conversation. Sarah was right. It should matter. A mother should care when her son gets married, should want to be there, should feel something other than this vast, echoing indifference. But I didn't. Somewhere between the note and the empty apartment, between the tears and the web development boot camp, between the old Claire and the new one, I'd let him go. Not with a dramatic gesture or a final confrontation, just quietly, carefully, the way you release a bird that doesn't want to be held. He was free. I was free. It should have felt worse than it did. Spring became summer. I got promoted at work. Not a big promotion, just a small acknowledgement that I was good at what I did. My boss, a man named Eric, who wore band t-shirts to meetings, called me into his office and said, "You're picking this up faster than people with computer science degrees. I want you on the main development team." "Thank you." "That's it? Just thank you? What else should I say?" He laughed. "Most people would negotiate for more money." "Can I negotiate for more money?" "Absolutely. I did. I got a 20% raise. I took myself out to dinner at a nice restaurant to celebrate. sat alone at a table for one, and didn't feel pathetic. I felt accomplished. I felt proud. I felt like someone who'd earned her place in the world instead of begging for it. In July, I moved out of the studio, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I found a one-bedroom apartment with hardwood floors and a balcony overlooking a park. It cost more than I should spend, but I could afford it now, and I was tired of living like I was in hiding. I bought furniture, real furniture, a couch, a dining table, art for the walls, plants that I managed to not kill. I made the space beautiful because I deserved beautiful things. And for the first time in years, no one could tell me otherwise. Sarah helped me move. We packed the studio in an afternoon. I still didn't own much, and carried boxes up 3 flights of stairs to the new place. When everything was inside, she opened the balcony door and stood there, looking out at the park. "You did it," she said. "Did what?" "Built a new life. I wasn't sure you would." I wasn't either. She turned to face me. "Are you happy?" I thought about that. Happiness felt like too big a word, too simple. "I'm at peace. That's better than happy." "Is it?" "Happy can be taken away. Peace is something you build inside yourself." I joined her on the balcony. The park was full of people, families, couples, kids playing soccer. He took my happiness, but he couldn't touch my peace. That's mine. August brought heat and a phone call I didn't expect. My lawyer, Patricia. "This is unusual," she said, "but I thought you should know. Daniel Morrison contacted my office. He's asking about contesting the deed transfer." My blood went cold. "On what grounds?" "He claims you signed under duress, that you weren't of sound mind, that he didn't actually ask you to leave. It was a misunderstanding." I laughed. It was a bitter sound. A misunderstanding? He left my belongings in boxes on the porch with a note. "What's to misunderstand?" That's what I told him. I also told him we have documentation of your mental competency, signed statements that you weren't coerced, and evidence that you made the decision freely. He doesn't have a case. Then why is he trying? Patricia was quiet for a moment. Honestly, my guess is guilt or buyer's remorse. Sometimes people don't realize what they've lost until it's too late to get it back. Tell him it's too late. I already did. But Claire, he's going to keep trying. People like him, they don't understand boundaries. They think love means being allowed back in no matter what they've done. Then he's going to be disappointed. Good. You deserve better than someone who only values you when you're gone. I thought about that conversation for days. Daniel wanted the house back, or he wanted me back, or he wanted something he couldn't name, some version of the past where he hadn't made an irreversible mistake. But that past was gone. I'd burned it the day I signed the papers. I'd scattered the ashes the day I moved into the studio. There was nothing left to reclaim. Still, knowing he was trying felt like a violation, like he was reaching into my new life, my peaceful life, trying to drag me back into his chaos. I changed my phone number. I told Patricia to handle any future contact through her office only. I blocked Daniel's email. I took every possible step to ensure he couldn't reach me, couldn't intrude, couldn't pretend we had unfinished business. We were finished. I'd finished us the moment he'd locked me out. September arrived with golden light and cooling temperatures. 1 year since I'd found the note. 1 year since my life had ended and begun at the same time. I celebrated by taking myself to the coast for the weekend. I rented a tiny cabin overlooking the ocean and spent 2 days walking on the beach, reading books, eating fresh seafood, doing absolutely nothing productive. It was glorious. On the second day, sitting on a driftwood log watching the sunset, I thought about Daniel. Not with anger or pain, but with the kind of distant curiosity. I wondered who he'd become. If he was happy with Vanessa in the house I'd given him. If they'd painted over the sage green door. If he ever thought about me. Or if I'd become just a story he told, the overbearing mother he'd had to cut loose for his own good. I realized I didn't care about the answers. He was a chapter in my life, and I'd closed the book. Everything after this was a new story. And he wasn't in it. Not as a villain, not as a victim, not as anything. He was just gone. And I was still here. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple and pink. Somewhere behind me, people laughed. A child squealed. A dog barked. Life continued, indifferent to my pain, indifferent to my peace. I stood up, brushed the sand from my jeans, and walked back to the cabin. Tomorrow I'd drive home, back to my apartment with the balcony and the plants, back to my job where people valued my work, back to my life that was mine, entirely, completely, irrevocably mine. Daniel had meant to break me when he left that note. Instead, he'd freed me. I wasn't grateful. I wasn't glad it happened, but I'd survived it. And survival had turned into something more. Something like strength. Something like self-respect. Something like knowing that I didn't need anyone to love me as long as I remembered how to love myself. The holidays came again. Thanksgiving, then Christmas, then New Year's. This time, I didn't spend them alone. I went to Sarah's house and let her fuss over me. I exchanged gifts with my coworkers. I went to a New Year's party and stayed until midnight, kissing strangers on the cheek and feeling alive. When the countdown ended and everyone cheered, I thought, I made it. A whole year. I made it. And then I thought, I'll make another year. And another. However many it takes. Because that was the thing Daniel never understood. Love wasn't about being needed. Love was about choosing to show up day after day, even when it was hard. Especially when it was. He'd stopped showing up for me, so I'd learned to show up for myself. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't even closure. It was just the truth. I'd found a way to live without him. Not the half-life of grief and longing, but a full life, rich and complex and entirely my own. He'd closed the door, I'd walked through it, and found a whole new world on the other side. And I was never going back. Epilogue. 2 years later, I'm sitting in my office at work. I have an office now, with a window and a door that closes. When my phone buzzes with a text from Sarah, he showed up at my house again, looks rough, says he needs to talk to you, that it's important. I stare at the message for a long moment. Outside my window, the city moves, cars passing, people walking, the world turning, as it always does. I'm working on a complex project, redesigning the user interface for our company's flagship product. It's challenging work, important work, work that matters. I type back, "What did you tell him?" 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Then, that I'd pass along the message. What do you want me to say? My fingers hover over the keyboard. 2 years ago, I would have agonized over this decision. I would have wondered what he wanted, what had happened, whether this was finally the moment he'd apologize, truly apologize, and we could rebuild something from the ruins. But that was 2 years ago. Now, I type, tell him I'm busy. Tell him I'm happy. Tell him I hope he is too, and tell him not to come back. Sarah's response is immediate. Are you sure? I look around my office, at the coding books on my shelf, at the plant I've kept alive for 18 months, a personal record, at the framed photo from the company retreat where I'm laughing, surrounded by colleagues who've become friends, at the certificate on my wall from the advanced development course I completed last spring. I'm sure, I write. Some doors close for a reason. This one is staying closed. Love you, Sarah writes back. Love you too. I set the phone down and return to my work. My fingers move across the keyboard with practiced confidence, writing code that will help thousands of students learn math more easily. It's good work, meaningful work, and it's mine. That evening, I stop at the grocery store on my way home. I'm planning to cook dinner. Real dinner, with fresh vegetables and a new recipe I found online. I've become good at cooking for one. Not sad meals eaten over the sink, but proper food, plated carefully, eaten at my dining table while I read, or listen to podcasts, or simply enjoy the quiet. I'm in the produce section examining avocados when I sense someone staring. That particular weight of attention that makes the back of your neck prickle. I turn. Daniel. He's standing 3 aisles over, half hidden behind a display of canned goods. He looks older than I remember, older than he should after just 2 years. There are lines around his eyes, gray threads in his beard. He's wearing a wrinkled button-down shirt and jeans that don't quite fit. He looks lost. Our eyes meet. He takes a step forward, opens his mouth. I turn back to the avocados, select 2 that are perfectly ripe, place them in my basket, move on to the tomatoes. Mom. The word hangs in the air between us. I continue examining tomatoes. These are good, firm but yielding, bright red, still on the vine. I choose 4. Mom, please. I can hear him moving closer. My heart is pounding, but my hands are steady. I will not run. I will not hide. But I also will not engage. I just want to talk. 5 minutes, please. I move to the lettuce. Select a head of romaine. Check it for freshness. I made a mistake. His voice is cracking now. I know I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Can we talk, please? I place the lettuce in my basket and finally turn to face him. He looks terrible up close. Not just tired, but hollowed out. There are coffee stains on his shirt. His eyes are red-rimmed. This is not the confident man who locked me out with a note. This is someone who's lost something and finally realized it's gone. No, I say. Just that one word, clear and firm. But I need no. I start walking toward the checkout. He follows. Mom, please. You don't understand. Vanessa left. Things fell apart. I lost my job, the house. He's talking faster now, desperately. I can't afford the mortgage. I'm going to lose it. I need help. I stop walking, turn to face him again. You need money. He has the grace to look ashamed. I just need someone to talk to. Someone who what, Daniel? Someone who will fix your problems? Someone who will bail you out? Someone who will drop everything to save you from the consequences of your choices? You're my mother. No, the word is ice. I was your mother. You made it very clear I was no longer needed. You left me a note. You threw my things on the porch. You hid behind a curtain while I waved goodbye. I watch his face crumble and I feel nothing. You want to know what I've been doing for the past 2 years? I've been building a life without you. A good life. A life where I matter, where I'm valued, where I don't have to beg for scraps of affection from someone who sees me as a burden. I never said you were a burden. You showed me. I shift my basket to my other arm. Here's what's going to happen. Nothing. You're going to deal with your problems the way adults do, by yourself, or with the help of people who actually want you in their lives. You're not going to contact me again. You're not going to show up at my friends' houses. You're not going to follow me in grocery stores. But I'm not finished. My voice is steel. You taught me something valuable. You taught me that love without respect is worthless. You taught me that sacrifice without appreciation is just self-destruction. You taught me that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. So I'm walking away. Again. Finally. Forever. And this time, I'm not leaving a door open behind me. There's nothing left to say, nothing left to fix. We're done. Please. He's crying now. Openly. Messily. People are staring. Please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I didn't understand. You didn't understand that actions have consequences, that you can't throw someone away and expect them to be there when you need them, that love isn't a faucet you can turn on and off. I'm not crying. I'm not even angry. I'm just done. I forgive you, Daniel. Not for your sake, but for mine. I forgive you so I can stop carrying this around. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It just means I'm putting this down and walking away. My name is Claire. I turn and walk to the checkout. He doesn't follow this time. I pay for my groceries, bag them myself, walk out into the parking lot. My hands don't shake. My vision doesn't blur. I drive home through evening traffic, carry my groceries upstairs, and start preparing dinner. While the onions saute, I text Sarah. He found me at the store. It's handled. I'm okay. Her response comes immediately. Do you need me to come over? No, but thank you. You sure? I'm sure. I'm actually really okay. And I am. I cook dinner. I eat it slowly, tasting every bite. I do the dishes. I water my plants. I sit on my balcony with a glass of wine and watch the park below, where people are walking dogs and playing frisbee and living their ordinary, beautiful lives. My phone rings. Unknown number. I don't answer. It rings again 10 minutes later. Same number. I block it. A text comes through from a different number. Please, I just need to talk, please. I block that one too. Eventually, they stop coming. That night, I dream about the house. Not the house as it was when I left, but the house from years ago, when Daniel was small. I dream about teaching him to ride a bike in the driveway, my hands on his shoulders, his nervous laughter as he found his balance. I dream about reading together on the couch, his head on my shoulder, both of us lost in different books. I dream about 1,000 small moments of ordinary love. When I wake up, there are tears on my cheeks. But I don't regret walking away. Not in the dream, not in reality. Because here's what I've learned. You can love someone and still leave them. You can honor what you shared while refusing to accept less than you deserve. You can carry the good memories without letting them trap you in the bad ones. Daniel needed a mother who would always be there, no matter what he did, no matter how he treated her. A mother who would absorb his mistakes and smooth his path and sacrifice herself on the altar of his needs. I needed a son who would see me as a person, who would respect my dignity, who would understand that love is a two-way street. We couldn't both get what we needed, so I chose myself. Some people would call that selfish. I call it survival. 3 months later, I'm promoted again, senior developer. It comes with a significant raise and the opportunity to mentor junior developers, to teach them what I've learned, to help them avoid the mistakes I made. My first mentee is a young woman named Anna, who reminds me achingly of myself at her age. Eager, uncertain, trying to prove she belongs. I see her staying late, skipping lunch, burning herself out trying to be perfect. One evening, I find her at her desk at 8 p.m., nearly in tears over a bug she can't fix. Go home, I tell her. But I almost have it. Anna, go home. The bug will be here tomorrow. You need rest more than this project needs perfection. I just don't want to let anyone down. I pull up a chair. You know what I've learned? The only person you're responsible for is yourself. You can work hard, be reliable, do your best, but you can't sacrifice your well-being trying to prove your worth to people who should already see it. But what if they don't see it? Then they're not worth working for. I log her out of her computer myself. You're brilliant, Anna. You're going to have a long career, but you won't if you burn out in year one trying to be everything to everyone. Take care of yourself first. Everything else follows from that. She leaves reluctantly. I hope she hears me. I hope she learns earlier than I did. The years continue. I date occasionally. Nothing serious, nothing that demands too much. I travel. I take a solo trip to Iceland and watch the northern lights dance across the sky. I learn to play guitar badly and don't care who hears me practice. I adopt a cat named Pepper, who's terrible and wonderful and completely mine. I build a life that would be unrecognizable to the woman who found 4 boxes on a porch 5 years ago. That woman was afraid of her own shadow, terrified of being alone, desperate for crumbs of affection from someone who didn't value her. This woman, me, now, isn't afraid of anything. Sarah asks me once, over coffee, "Do you think you'll ever let him back in? If he really changed?" I consider this. I don't think people really change. I think they become more of what they always were. I stir sugar into my coffee. Daniel was always someone who took me for granted, who saw my love as an endless resource he could draw from without reciprocating. Losing everything didn't change that. It just made him realize he needed the resource again. That's pretty cynical. No, it's honest. I look at my friend, my real friend who's been there through everything. You know what the difference is between you and him? You show up, even when it's inconvenient, even when I'm difficult, even when there's nothing in it for you. That's love. What Daniel wanted wasn't love. It was convenience. You're different than you used to be. I know. Is it better? I think about the woman I was. Softer, more accommodating, always bending to fit other people's needs. It's not better or worse. It's just true. I'm finally living a life that's actually mine, not a life built around someone else's expectations. Do you miss him? Sometimes. But I miss the idea of him more than the reality. I miss having a son, but the son I missed never really existed. He was someone I built up in my imagination, someone who would eventually appreciate everything I did. The real Daniel couldn't see past his own needs long enough to value mine. So no, I don't miss him. I miss what I thought we had. 10 years after the note, I'm sitting in my apartment, a different apartment now, a 2-bedroom in a better neighborhood, working on a Saturday morning when my doorbell rings. I'm not expecting anyone. I check the video intercom. A young woman stands there, early 20s, dark hair, nervous posture. She looks familiar in a way I can't place. I press the intercom button. "Can I help you?" "Ms. Morrison? Claire Morrison?" "Yes." My name is Lily. I'm Daniel's daughter." The world tilts. I grip the counter. Daniel has a daughter. Daniel has a daughter and I didn't know. I'm a grandmother and nobody told me. "How old are you?" My voice sounds strange. 22. "I know this is weird. I found your address through... It doesn't matter. Can I come up, please? I just want to talk." Every instinct screams to say no, to protect myself, to refuse to let Daniel's chaos back into my carefully constructed peace. But she's not Daniel. She's a young woman who tracked me down for reasons I don't understand yet. 5th floor, door on the right. I buzz her in and spend the 3 minutes it takes her to climb the stairs trying to calm my racing heart. When I open the door, she's standing there looking terrified and determined. "Come in," I say. She enters carefully, looking around like she's trying to memorize everything. I offer her tea. She accepts. We sit at my kitchen table, strangers sharing blood, separated by choices neither of us made. "How did you find me?" I ask finally. "Dad's papers. After she swallows hard. He died 6 months ago. Cancer. It was fast." The room spins. Daniel is dead. My son is dead, and I didn't know. "I'm sorry," I say automatically. "Are you?" The question hangs between us. I consider lying, then decide this girl deserves truth. "I don't know. I haven't seen him in 10 years. We had a falling out." "I know. He told me. Not at first. But toward the end, when he knew he was dying, he talked about you, about what he did, about the note, about pushing you out. Why are you here, Lily? Because he asked me to find you. He said he was sorry, that he understood too late what he'd done, that he wanted you to know he spent the last 10 years regretting it, but was too proud to admit it. Too ashamed. I absorbed this. Daniel was sorry. Daniel died sorry. It should matter more than it does. He left you something, Lily continues. She pulls an envelope from her bag. Letters. He wrote them over the years, but never sent them. He wanted you to have them. I don't reach for the envelope. Why? I think he wanted you to know he thought about you, that you mattered. I know I mattered. That was never the question. I stand up, walk to the window, look out at the city that's become my home. The question was whether he respected me enough to treat me with basic human dignity. And the answer to that was no. He was different at the end. Lily. I turned to face her. I'm sure he was a good father to you. I hope he was. You deserve that. But he wasn't a good son to me. And dying doesn't erase that. She's crying now. I just thought you'd want to know that he regretted it. I appreciate you coming. I do. But his regret doesn't change anything. It doesn't give me back the 10 years he refused to speak to me. It doesn't undo the fact that he threw me away when I was inconvenient and only reconsidered when he was dying and facing his own mortality. I sit back down across from her. You're young. Maybe you don't understand this yet. But regret without amendment is just self-pity. If he was truly sorry, he could have reached out. He knew where I lived. You found me, so he could have too. He chose not to. That choice matters more than any deathbed regrets. But I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm just being honest. Your father made choices. I made choices. We both have to live with them. Or, in his case, die with them. I push the envelope back toward her. Keep the letters, or burn them. But I don't need to read them. They won't tell me anything I don't already know. Don't you want to know you had a granddaughter? The question hits me in the chest. Did he know about you when he locked me out? She looks confused. What? No. My mom and dad got together later. I'm only 22. So you're not the reason he kicked me out? No. Then no. I don't particularly want to know. I stand, signaling the conversation is over. I'm glad you had a father who loved you. I'm glad he was better for you than he was for me. But I've built a life without him, and I'm not interested in posthumous reconciliation. It's too late, and I'm too tired. She stands too, clutching the envelope. I'm sorry, I don't know what I thought. You thought I'd be grateful, that I'd cry and thank you for bringing me closure, that we'd hug and you'd become the grandchild who fixed everything. I walk her to the door. But life doesn't work that way. Some things stay broken, and that's okay. Is it? She whispers. Yes. I open the door. You seem like a good person, Lily. I hope you have a good life. But I can't be part of it. I'm sorry. She leaves. I close the door and lean against it, breathing hard. Daniel is dead. My son is dead. And all I feel is tired. Just bone deep, soul tired. I don't cry. I don't rage. I just stand there until my legs stop shaking. Then I go back to my computer and finish the work I was doing before the doorbell rang. Life continues, even when it shouldn't, especially when it shouldn't. That's the only lesson that matters. That night, Sarah calls. Somehow she always knows. You okay? She asks. Daniel died. His daughter came to see me. Silence. Then, Jesus, when? 6 months ago. Cancer. Are you? I'm fine. And I am. I'm sad that he's gone, but I was sad 10 years ago when he locked me out. This is just the period at the end of a sentence that ended a long time ago. Do you regret it? Not reconciling? I think about this carefully. No, because reconciliation requires two people who both want it. He wanted absolution. I wanted respect. Those aren't the same thing. You're the strongest person I know. No, I'm just someone who learned to survive. There's a difference. We talk for a while longer, but eventually I tell her I need to sleep. I hang up and sit in the dark of my apartment, surrounded by the life I've built. Books on shelves, art on walls, plants growing in their pots. A whole existence that has nothing to do with Daniel. He's gone now. Truly, finally gone. And I'm still here. Still working, still growing, still learning to be happy in a life that's entirely, completely, irrevocably mine. That's enough. It has to be enough. And some days, most days now, it is.